It's Allah Azza wa Jal letting us know like the clock is ticking. Every day is like the rounds of an hour. Or every time the moon becomes full and then almost nothing. حَتَّى عَادَ كَالْعُرْجُونِ الْقَدِيمِ like an old twig even, right? And then come back to full again. These are like the rotations of an hour. Time is passing by. And these steps are taking place. So in the previous passage, the central text was Ya ayyuhal insan innaka kadihun ila rabbika kadhan. When the human beings on this conveyor belt headed towards their Lord, they can't stop it. Now look at this. The sky inevitably turns black. Inevitably the moon becomes full. It just keeps moving forward and forward. And after calling for us to reflect on these things, what does he say? La tarkabunna tabaqan an tabaq. All of you are going to ride, literally ride, like you're in a car or in the old days on a camel or something, on one stage after another. The way the Mufassirun describe this is so amazing. Subhanallah. You're going to be in the belly of your mother. That's a journey. Then you're going to come out of it. Then you're going to become a little older and be able to walk. That's going to be a stage. Then from there you're going to go to a stage where you can talk. Then there's going to be a stage where you can walk. And there's going to be a stage where you can become independent. Then there's going to be a stage when you'll be more powerful than your parents are. You go through these stages. And eventually you'll be at a stage where you can't even stand up straight. Right? وَمَن نُعَمِّرْهُ نُنَكِّسُهُ فِي الْخَلْقِ. Whoever we give old age, we start reversing them in creation and weakening them in their creation. So you'll go through these stages, just like every evening eventually leads to night. Every half moon eventually leads to a full moon. It's inevitable. But what's the final inevitability? That's already been told to us. Where are you going to end up? To your Lord. لَتَرْكَبُنَّ طَبْقًا عَنْ طَبَقٍ. At the end of all of this discourse, these are the concluding ayat. فَمَا لَهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. Then what is wrong with them? They don't believe? What is wrong with them? They don't have iman? Where does iman rest? Where does iman rest? In the Quran, Allah says, وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ حَبَّبَ إِلَيْكُمُ الْإِيمَانِ وَزَيَّنَهُ فِي قُلُوبِكُمْ. Allah has made iman beloved to you and has beautified it inside of your hearts. Right? When Allah talks about people having lost their iman or becoming corrupt, Allah talks about the hearts becoming hard. Here Allah says, what's wrong with them? They don't have iman. But in the previous surah, Allah told us what is wrong with them. He answered that question himself in the previous surah, subhanallah. He says, كَلَّا بَلْ رَانَ عَلَى قُلُوبِهِمْ مَا كَانُوا يَكْسِبُونَ. You remember the rust that has been placed on their hearts because of the sins they earn? Right? That is the rust that leaves them no iman, no time for reflection, nothing. This again is a contrast. وَأَذِنَتْ لِرَبِّهَا وَحُقَّتْ. The sky and the earth, they intently listen to the commandment of their Lord, and it is only rightful that they obey. But the human being, forget listening, doesn't even believe it's from his Lord. فَمَا لَهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. What is wrong with them then? They don't believe? وَإِذَا قُرِئَ عَلَيْهِمُ الْقُرْآنِ. And when the Qur'an is recited onto them, لَا يَسْجُدُونَ. Let's get the sajda done before we talk any further. وَإِذَا قُرِئَ عَلَيْهِمُ الْقُرْآنُ لَا يَسْجُدُونَ. The basic meaning of the ayah, when the Qur'an is read onto them, they don't prostrate, they don't make sajda. And this is an ayah of sajda. But we have to understand something more than the sajda of the believers. In the tradition of the Arabs and the Persians, not the Persians, the Egyptians, okay, Misr, ancient Egypt and Arabs, there was a tradition of prostrating when people were overwhelmed in awe of something. This was a tradition. We find evidences of that sprinkled all over the Quran. Also in the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ. We find the Egyptians, when they were overrun with magic, what did they do? Sajda. They fell into sajda, okay, immediately. We find the dream of Yusuf alayhi salam, interpreted as what? Sajda. Sajda. And this was done out of, appreciation, awe, being overwhelmed, this sort of thing. We find in ancient Arab history a poet named Lubayd. Lubayd was a very talented poet, and when he recited his newest work, his qasida, then the shu'ara, the poets of the Arabs, they made sajda to him. They made sajda to him. And then they took his poetry and they hung it on the wall of the Kaaba from the mu'allaqat, the hanging ones. These were the climax of poetry. So there's a tradition of when you hear something powerful and overwhelming, your response is fall into sajda. So even from that point of view, Allah is calling on to them and saying what's wrong with them. They don't believe. When the Quran is read onto them, they don't fall into sajda. Meaning they know it's so powerful, they have never heard anything like this before, yet they still don't give in. They know that the majesty of its language is something the likes of which they've never seen. They still don't fall into sajda. They don't fall into sajda, rather they hold themselves back They hold themselves back from making sajda. Some argue that the asbabun nuzul, the sababun nuzul, the context of revelation of this ayah is, the another ayah of sajda was revealed and the messenger made sajda and they made fun of him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then here they were told, no, when the Quran is read, they don't make sajda. But the believer does, subhanallah. وَإِذَا قُرِئَ عَلَيْهِمُ الْقُرْآنُ لَا يَسْجُدُونَ. Now the other thing here is they veil themselves from the Quran. They don't want to hear it. They want to cut themselves off. لَا تَسْمَعُوا لِهَذَا الْقُرْآنِ وَأَلْغَوْا فِيهِ. Don't listen to this Quran, plug your ears, make a lot of noise when it's being recited. As a consequence of them veiling themselves from the Quran, the punishment is in the previous surah. On the day of resurrection, who is veiling himself from them? إِنَّهُمْ عَنْ رَبِّهِمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ لَمَحْجُوبُونَ. Right? Subhanallah. This hijab that Allah places, and eventually He even places this hijab here. جَعَلْنَا بَيْنَكَ وَبَيْنَ الَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْآخِرَةِ حِجَابًا مَسْتُورًا. Right? We place between you and those who don't believe in the akhirah a barrier, a consistent barrier that doesn't allow them to get the message across to themselves. This is because of the sins that they earned. Now Allah says, بَلِ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا يُكَذِّبُونَ. Rather, those who disbelieve, they are lying viciously against the truth, against the messenger, against Allah, against the ayat of the Quran. They know it to be the truth, they lie against it anyway, calling it a lie. This is a continuation and a culmination of what we read in detail in the previous surah. In the previous surah we found this takdhib. وَيْلٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ لِلْمُكَذِّبِينَ الَّذِينَ يُكَذِّبُونَ بِيَوْمِ الدِّينِ وَمَا يُكَذِّبُ بِهِ إِلَّا كُلُّ مُعْتَدٍ أَثِيمٍ. Takdhib. We found, the ultimate destruction for those who deliberately lie against the truth and lie against the messenger, accuse him of being a liar. Those who lie against the day of standing and the day of resurrection, of judgment. And who will lie against it except the most transgressing sinner, right? The transgressing sinner. All that takdeeb, the lying against the truth was mentioned there. It's been concluded here. بَلِ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا يُكَذِّبُونَ وَاللَّهُ أَعْلَمُ بِمَا يُوعُونَ. And Allah knows best. In the previous surah we found, or even before, يَعْلَمُونَ مَا تَفْعَلُونَ. They know what you do. The angels know what you do. Allah says, وَاللَّهُ أَعْلَمُ. Allah knows best. And the illustration of that is in the surah. Remember, He even knows our thoughts. The joy we feel deep inside our hearts, He even knows that. وَاللَّهُ أَعْلَمُ بِمَا يُوعُونَ. He knows whatever, literally, if you were to say, literally what they bag, what they put in the bag. When you amass something, you put it inside the bag. وَجَمَعَ فَأَوْعَى, we find, right? He gathered and he bagged it together. He put it together. وِعَايَ, right? فَبَدَأَ بِأَوْعِيَتِهِ قَبْلَ وِعَاءَ أَخِيهِ. أوعيتهم rather. We find Yusuf alayhi salam when he went through the bags of his brothers, right? The same wi'aya, okay? Wi'a is used. Then similarly we find a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. نَضَّرَ اللَّهُ عَبْدًا سَمِعَ مَقَالَتِي فَوَعَاهَا. May Allah Azza wa Jal give joy to the slave who heard my word and bagged it. Meaning he internalized it and he memorized it also. He protected it. فَوَعَاهَا. Subhanallah. Okay. So this, what does it mean linguistically? يَكْتُمُونَ مِنْ أَفْعَالِهِمْ. They hide from what they do. They bag it, they hide what their actions are. They conceal the intent. That's one of the implications. The other is their deeds are like things, like rocks and pebbles that they're gathering. And this bag is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And they don't even know they're bagging all of this stuff. Who knows? Allah. Wallahu a'lamu bima yu'un. Allah knows best what is it that they're gathering together. In the previous surah, we got a glimpse of what they bag. You remember they bag a little bit of prophets? They slice off a little off the top. وَيْلٌ لِلْمُطَفِّفِينَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا اكْتَالُوا عَلَى النَّاسِ يَسْتَوْفُونَ. In the previous surah, they bag just a little bit of the prophets and they want to get full when they get from others. So that's, Allah says Allah knows best what they gather for themselves. فَبَشِّرْهُمْ. This is a continuation of the style of the previous surah. It ended with sarcasm. The previous surah ended with sarcasm. Allah said, هَلْ ثُوِّبَ الْكُفَّارِ. Have the disbelievers been given full compensation for what they used to do? And tathweeb is good compensation, like good salary. Did they get a good salary for what they did? So it's a sarcastic question. Similarly here, فَبَشِّرْهُمْ بِعَذَابٍ أَلِيمٍ. Congratulate them of painful punishment.